Okay, so we've been talking about mammals, right? And lots of different kinds of mammals. We've been talking about cetaceans in particular very much recently. But we've also talked about sirenians, and we've talked about pinnipeds, and we've talked about carnivora, sea otters, and polar bears. Um, and then we have been talking a lot about cetaceans. So we've been talking about all sorts of different kinds of mammals. And so we finished all of like our information, background information, and stuff about mammals. And so the last little section we need to do is threats to mammals, because mammals are threatened, and a lot of them are actually endangered, which is sad. So one of the many reasons why marine mammals are endangered are because of plastics. Okay, and so just like we were talking about with sea turtles and how sea turtles will eat plastic and then die of starvation with stomachs full of plastic, marine mammals can do the same thing. Okay, so they can eat plastic and die of starvation with bellies full of plastic. So this bottom picture is a little sea lion that has eaten a lot of plastic, and you can see like all the folds of skin and stuff on him. That's because he's starving, okay, and he's lost like all of his blubber reserves and stuff. That little guy was rescued, stomach pumped, fattened back up and released, but you can see this actually happens to marine mammals as well. So plastics are bad in the ocean, not for just sea turtles, but other things as well. Animals also get entangled in a lot of plastics. So you get like fishing line that will be entangling animals, or like a lot of nets nowadays are made out of plastic. And so those don't break down in the water very well. And if fishermen lose nets all the time, like it breaks free from the moorings that they're on, and then they just kind of drift around, and marine mammals will get entangled in those things. And when they get entangled, they can't make it up to the surface to breathe, and so they drown. As you can see, there's a bunch of dead sea lions in the net here. Also, fishing line and stuff can get wrapped around their necks, right? So like when they're young, when they're small, right, they can get fishing line wrapped around their neck, or some of the bigger like plastic rings, maybe from like a 6-pack of cans. And so those can get around the neck, and as the animal grows, that plastic doesn't grow with it, right? It's not alive. So it stays the same size, and the animal kind of grows around it, and it eventually like cuts into the animal's neck and kills it, okay? Or if it doesn't suffocate it first. All right, so it's pretty sad. So plastics are bad, not just for turtles, but also other marine creatures as well. So another threat to marine mammals is hunting. Okay, so sea otters were hunted nearly to extinction because of their fur. Other marine mammals, like particularly the big baleen whales, a bunch of them were hunted almost to extinction for their blubber, for their fat to be used for like lamps and stuff like that, and also for their meat. And believe it or not, even though whales are protected, they are still in danger from hunting, particularly from the Japanese. Okay, so basically we have an international whaling commission that has banned hunting whales. The only exception that they give is if it's for like a research purpose. Okay, so you need to do something for research project, kind of deal. And how many of you have ever seen the show Whale Wars? Okay, like one of you? Okay, maybe. Okay. If you remember, what do all of the Japanese whaling ships say on the side of them? Research, right? So all of the Japanese whaling ships say research because that's how they kind of get around the International Whaling Commission ban. They say they're doing research, quote unquote. Now maybe they actually are doing a little bit of research, but their main purpose of whaling is for food. All right. So whales do still get hunted all the time for research, quote unquote, purposes. Okay. There are still some cultures, like the Inuits up in the Arctic, that are allowed to take whales, like a certain number of whales every year, because it's been part of their culture for hundreds of years, and it's actually like a subsistence living type of thing. So they're allowed to hunt whales. Fishermen also don't really like pinnipeds, so like seals and sea lions, because they go for the kind of the same things. And so fishermen want to protect their livelihood and their source of income, and so they don't really like seals and sea lions, so they'll sometimes like shoot them and like try and keep them from eating what they're trying to fish for. So, because they see them as competition. This picture right here is, so you can see, this is one of the Japanese vessels with the whale that they caught. So, other threats, you get ship strikes. So you get the big, like baleen whales that not much really other than a killer whale will prey on. And so they don't really have any sort of like concept of like, hey, something's bigger than me, because there's not really anything bigger than them, and maybe I need to get out of the way for this thing. And they don't have echolocation to like see ships, okay, if they can't actually see them with their eyes. And so what happens is baleen whales, these big baleen whales, actually get hit by a lot of ships as they go through wherever and like are delivering their goods. So animals, particularly whales, die a lot of ship strikes, and it tends to be, if we get a dead whale that washes up on shore, the reason why they died is because of a ship strike. So they got hit by a boat, which is sad. And also kind of interesting is, well, kind of interesting slash kind of sad. All of the major shipping lanes run like right through known whale feeding areas. So it's kind of like, okay, so whales are dying because of ship strikes, but yet we're still going to have our shipping lanes right through where we know they feed. And so like these are the Channel Islands right here. This is Point Doom. Okay, these are the shipping lanes. Those are the whale feeding areas. Okay, so it's like, okay, if we want to help protect the whales, then maybe we should move the shipping lanes. I don't know, right? It seems logical. But yeah, so that's the shipping lanes. This picture right here on the right shows you, here's like a whale right here that's been circled, and then the big shipping container ship. So these guys are huge. They're not going to be able to turn on a dime and like avoid a whale. So it's kind of like the whales get hit all the time. Manatees are also in danger from this, like in Florida and stuff, because they also are gentle, don't really have predators, and so they don't really have an idea of like how to get out of the way of something, and so they get hit by boats a lot, and so the propellers cut them up, and they like bleed out and die. It's sad. It's actually one of the major reasons why they're endangered in the first place. It's because of boats. So now in Florida, they have like laws and stuff. There's like speed limits, so that you have to go slow enough so that if you see a manatee, you can avoid it. But if people don't always, follow the laws, this is what happens when they get hit. Okay, and that's not even like the worst one that I could show you, but that's what happens. So that prop acts like a knife and just slices right through them, which it would do the same thing to you if it hit you. This is a whale that got hit by a boat. You can see that. You can see the prop marks, right? So, yeah. So ship strikes are a danger. Some of the laws that have been put into place to protect marine mammals, because we want to protect marine mammals because a lot of them are endangered. The main one that was put into place to help to protect them is the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Hopefully that's easy to remember. The Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972 was the main law put into place to protect marine mammals. And the goal of that act was to prevent what we call functional extinction of mammals. What functional extinction is it's not like full-blown extinction where there's none of those animals left on Earth. There's still a few left, but there's so few of them left that they don't serve the function in the ecosystem that they are meant to serve. So they're not technically extinct, but they no longer serve the role that they need to serve. It's called functional extinction. Okay, so the Marine Mammal Protection Act was put into effect to prevent functional extinction. What the Marine Mammal Protection Act does is it forbids the hunting, harassing, capturing, or killing, or an attempt to do so, of marine mammals in U.S. waters. Okay? Um, hopefully hunting, capturing, and killing, those definitions are pretty obvious, but harassment can be a little bit more vague, so they defined what harassment actually is. And harassment of marine mammals is anything that will alter the animal's natural behavior. So if you get too close to a mammal and they are forced to change their behavior and do something differently, that is considered to be harassment of marine mammals, and you are liable under the Marine Mammal Protection Act for large fines. Okay, thousands of dollars of fines. All right, so not good. So stay away from the marine mammals. Don't harass them. Okay. Other things that were put into effect that also helped to protect marine mammals was the Endangered Species Act. The Endangered Species Act helped to protect them because it pretty much forbade trade, okay, of anything having to do with an endangered animal. So if the animal is placed on the endangered species list, like let's say the sea otter, okay, that means that you can't hunt them in U.S. waters, but neither can you like import sea otter pelts from Japan. Okay, so if you cut off the trade, right, then you help to take away the monetary gain that people get, which helps to protect the animal even further, right? So the Endangered Species Act helped to cut off trade of, you know, like that's why you can't buy like white rhinoceros horns right here in the U.S. because they're endangered. So you could go to jail for that. So the Endangered Species Act helped, and then also the Clean Water Act. If you protect the water that they live in and make sure that it's a suitable environment for them, and you can't like dump toxins into the water, then that helps to protect them as well, right? Both through biomagnification of toxins up the food chain and also in just general good water quality, yeah? So it helps to protect them as well. Viewing etiquette. So what can you do to help to make sure that you don't harass a marine mammal if you go to look at them? Because they are cute and they are fun to look at. Here's what you can do and what you need to keep in mind when you go. You do need to learn before you go. So learn about the animal before you go. So know what to look for if the animal is getting in distress or like changing its behavior because of what you're doing. You also need to keep your distance. There are actually like set distances that you must stay away, like stay this far away from marine mammals. 300 feet you have to stay away from whales. So you have to remain 300 feet away. It's like 70 feet or something like that for sea otters. Okay. The exception to that is if the mammal comes up to you. Okay, so if you're like in a boat whale watching and you're far away and then the whale swims up to you, that's okay. But if you like see a whale in the distance and you chase after it and you get really close to it, that's not okay. All right, so you must stay at least 70 feet away from sea otters, 300 feet from whales. Or you will get fined, actually. Don't touch them. That seems kind of logical, but if you touch them, many of them have protective slime, and if you touch them, it rubs that off, and they're exposed to disease and infection and stuff like that. And, I mean, you know, sea otters and sea lions and stuff look cute and cuddly, but they do have sharp teeth, and so if you touch them, you are likely to get bit, which would not feel good. All right, so don't do that. Don't feed them because it teaches them that people have food, and so they'll come up to people and start relying on people for food rather than finding food for themselves. Don't chase them. That seems obvious. Also obvious, don't come between a mom and her baby. Nothing good ever comes from that, right? So don't get between a mom and her baby. Stay away from the abandoned or sick. So if you see like a big colony of sea lions, okay, and you see like one little guy off by himself, don't be like, hey, little buddy, let's go find your friends, okay? They are typically over there for a reason, okay? They're probably sick, and so the other sea lions don't want to get sick, okay? So they have to like stay kind of like quarantined, right? And so if they get better, then they can come back and hang out with their buddies. But if while they're sick, they have to remain separated. Kind of like when you get sick, you stay home from school, right? Hopefully to try and prevent other people from getting sick as well. All right, so stay away from the abandoned or sick. Also, if you're sick and like and you're like sitting here and you're like just trying to like feel okay, and then somebody comes up and is like, come on guys, come on, let's go, you're probably likely to be like, blah, leave me alone, right? And lash out. You'll be more aggressive, yes? So we'll stick animals, okay? So don't do it. You're also supposed to keep your pets away. Your pets are mammals, like your dog is a mammal, and if there's diseases, they can be transferred from one to the other. So make sure that you keep your pets away from them. Don't let your pets chase them either, okay? Remove trash, especially plastic, right? And then inform others. So if you see somebody else like throwing rocks at a sea lion, tell them to stop, okay? So inform others. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. These are in your notes, but so there's like certain people that you're supposed to call if you see like a dead sea lion or a sick sea lion or like a dead whale on the beach. There's people that you're supposed to call that like will come and investigate like why they're dying or whatever. And so I put the people for Ventura County in your notes just so you have them. I'm not going to quiz you on the phone numbers, okay? But just so you have them. And then because I get asked a lot, like, oh, I want to be a dolphin trainer. How do I become a dolphin trainer? This is just some information for you. So it used to be that there were like no undergraduate majors in marine biology. Like you couldn't major in marine biology when you went to college. Nowadays, that's different. There's actually several colleges now that offer marine biology as an undergraduate major because marine biology is actually a up-and-coming field in science, and there's lots of like exciting research going on in the field of marine biology. So you now can get an undergraduate major in marine biology, but if you do want to do anything with marine mammals or marine vertebrates, you will most likely have to have at a minimum a master's degree. Okay, some jobs you can get away with an undergraduate degree, but for the most part, you're going to have at least a master's, if not a PhD. Okay, so you can get your undergraduate in marine biology, go on, get your master's in dolphins, okay, or dolphin behavior, or whatever, and then you can go be a dolphin trainer. Okay, or if that's not your deal, you want to do something else. There's lots of other careers that are in the marine biology field, so you can do research, right? You could research sponges and find some new toxin that sponges produce and like come up with a new drug to cure cancer. That's exciting. Okay. Film, so you can make all sorts of movies, right? About like we've watched in class about like sharks or whatever. Okay. All the different movies we've watched. You could be a vet. That would be pretty cool too. Fishermen, you could be involved in like the enforcement of like the Marine Mammal Protection Act and like help to make sure people don't do what they're not supposed to be doing. Education, hey, okay, and tourism, that sort of thing. All right, so lots of different careers are open to you.